What is up, everybody? My name is Joshua Allengame, and today I'm going to teach you how to use monologues to make you a better actor. So by the end of today's video, you're going to know exactly how to fully take advantage of monologues. But before we get started, if you're new here, my name is Josh, and on this channel we go through everything you need to know about acting and modeling, and the daily lifestyle that comes along with it. So if that's something that sounds like it interests you, make sure you like and comment on this video, and if you feel like seeing more videos from me, hit that subscribe button and ding that notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a new video. So a monologue is a short scene that only contains the dialogue of one actor. In a film, a monologue is generally used for times of realization or coming to terms with something, and generally comes across as a long speech. Monologues come in all different lengths, but generally a monologue is between 30 and 90 seconds. For our purposes as actors, there are generally only two types of monologues, those being dramatic and comedic. Both types are quite self-explanatory, but to cover all bases, a comedic monologue intends to make people laugh and generally has at least one punchline, whereas dramatic monologues tend to display a great deal of raw emotion. That's all well and good, but why do we need them? For us actors, the most common place you'll need a monologue is when you're auditioning for roles. Generally, in an audition, you'll be provided with a character breakdown for the role you're auditioning for, as well as a scene that allows the casting director to see exactly how well you fit the role. However, it is also generally expected that you have at least one monologue prepared, so that casting directors can get a sense for your range as an actor on a piece that you have pre-prepared. As I stated before, there are two types of monologue, and generally there are two types of film, dramatic and comedic. Do you notice how these align? When you're auditioning, you will want to pick the best monologue you know that suits the film and role you're auditioning for. This is unless otherwise specified by the casting director. It may not come across too well if you perform a comedic monologue in an audition for a film that has very dark and dramatic themes. Although, sometimes casting directors want to see this. However, this doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a comedic monologue prepared for an audition for a dramatic film, and vice versa. It is always good practice to be prepared for every situation. As they say, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. You may be wondering why monologues are advantageous apart from being a necessary step for getting an acting role. Well, as stated previously, monologues are useful when getting an acting job because they allow you to show a casting director exactly what you can do with some practice. But it is that is most useful for you as an actor: practice. As I'm sure you know, acting is a skill where if you don't keep up to it, you're slowly going to regress. Monologues provide a low input way of continually improving your craft. Just think, if you're just starting out or you're a seasoned actor, think to when you were just starting, how much contact time you actually have with your acting craft. If you were like me, and what I know most actors are like, your only contact time was whenever you had a job, audition, or class. For me, that meant that many weeks I had less than 1 hour of contact time in total. So, if you add in what we stated was the minimum time to spend on your monologues, you are already increasing that time by 50%. This realistically means that you'll improve your skills 50% faster. Now think to yourself, if you spend an hour a week practicing your monologues, you'll then be doubling the speed that you improve your acting skill. After this short break, I'm going to let you know exactly where I find my monologues. But I just want to take a moment out of this video to tell you about the acting course that I'm working on. This course is aimed at teaching you all the fundamentals behind acting as a career, including the techniques that I use to perform, as well as all of the business. If that sounds like something that interests you, make sure you check out the top of the description because as soon as the acting course is available, it will be there. As promised, I'm now going to let you know the three places that I find my monologues. The first and most common place I find my monologues are online. Just Googling monologues for actors will yield thousands of results of web pages that have all sorts of different monologues. What separates a good monologue website from a great one is the ability to input your casting type. If you don't know your casting type, check out this video where I detail how you can figure that out. Basically, on these websites you input your details like age, gender, ethnicity, etc. and the website will filter the monologues by those criteria to provide you what is best for you. Some notable examples that I like are Backstage and Stage Agent, and I will leave links to these sites down below. Another way to find monologues that I don't tend to use, but is definitely a good resource, is books. Searching Amazon for the same search terms again yields thousands of results, and almost all of these results have amazing reviews. You can also find these books in traditional bookstores and libraries. However, this is a lot harder to do and has a much larger time input. I don't necessarily have any recommendations, but if you want to go down this route, then I would check the reviews before you spend your money. My second favourite way of finding monologues is from apps. There are many on both the Android and iOS marketplaces, however I really only use one app, and that's SceneBot. To briefly overview SceneBot, it is an app designed for actors that allows you to practice both scenes and monologues. It has both an ad-supported and paid version, which grants you access to many different types of scenes. On the app, you can also see how other people have completed the scene to get some ideas. If you would like me to review SceneBot in a separate video, leave a comment down below. Finally, as a bonus, there is one more way that I have acquired monologues in the past. However, I only recommend it in certain cases. This way is through media. When you're watching movies or shows, keep an eye out for monologue scenes that you could do. Generally, there is at least one in every movie or show, and the hardest part is just noticing where they are. The reason I caution against this method is because if the movie or show is popular and the casting director has seen it, you are then comparing yourself to the professional actor who was paid to deliver the monologue. Therefore, I only recommend using monologues from media that you have consumed if the media isn't widely popular, or you can do the monologue in a better or different way. Now let's take a look at some frequently asked questions. How many monologues should I know? This is a very good question because the general idea online seems to be that you can't know too many monologues. And quite frankly, I disagree. My school of thought is more aligned to the saying, "Jack of all trades, master of none." In my opinion, it is better to know fewer monologues but do them a lot better rather than many monologues that you complete in an average way. Because of this way of thinking, it is my suggestion that you don't have any more than 6 monologues in your rotation at any one time. That's 3 comedic and 3 dramatic. This allows you to really lock in on a great performance for each monologue, while still having enough of a range that you can pick an appropriate monologue for every audition. However, if you still feel that 6 monologues is too many for you to remember, then you can cut it back to 4 and master them. When should I refresh my monologues? This is really a personal choice, and it really depends on how often you're auditioning. I tend to find I refresh my monologues whenever they start to feel stale. For me, that tends to be every 3 to 6 months. When I go to refresh my monologues, I'll go to one of the sites that I mentioned previously and spend a good few hours going through all the monologues that I come across. I generally find these by the methods I stated before, adjusting the filters so I get a decent selection. After this is done, I may have as many as a dozen of each dramatic and comedic monologues. Over the next week or so, I'll then go through and practice each of these monologues and slowly cull the list until I'm only left with around 3 of each type. In this time, I may have also used some of these new monologues in an audition, which is a great field test because you can see how casting directors react to them immediately. Also, just because you are refreshing your monologues, that doesn't mean you have to toss out the old ones. There have been times where 3 of my monologues have felt stale, but the other 3 have not. Go through and replace the stale ones, but keep the ones you're still liking. You may also find that none of your new monologues seem better than an old one you were doing. In that case, it is also completely fine to keep the old one. How often should I practice my monologues? This, once again, is up to the individual person as well. I tend not to need to practice my monologues because I use them enough in auditions. However, if you're not auditioning as often, or tending to forget your monologues, then this is probably a sign you should practice more often. I generally recommend you should probably set aside at least 30 minutes per week to practice your monologues. In 30 minutes, you should be able to go through each monologue twice. It also may be useful to you if you split this up. Run through each of your monologues once on 2 separate days. Also, if you find yourself picking a particular monologue because you remember it better than the others, this is a sign that you need to practice the other monologues more or replace them. Another useful way to continually practice your monologues is to associate them with something you do daily, like brushing your teeth. If you have 6 monologues and rehearse 1 after the 2 times you brush your teeth per day, then you'll more than cover the half-hour minimum that we discussed before. How can I improve my monologues? The main way you improve your monologues is by practicing them regularly. However, practicing them on their own doesn't really help. I find that the best way to make my monologues better is also to consume them as a viewer. The way you do this is by watching them back. Now you can do this in a mirror, however I find a better way is to film them and then watch them back and critique what you have done. It is even better if you write down those critiques. This means that along with the videos, you have a resource that you can go back to and see how far you've improved. And you can also see the common pitfalls that you have with your monologues. So that's a wrap on today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you check out the top of the description because as soon as the acting course is available, it will be there. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it. Leave a comment if you have something to say about this video. Share this video if you think someone else would enjoy it. And as always, don't forget to subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.